Hi babies, I got on here yesterday and I shot a video, and I did a couple days ago before that too, and I reviewed these. They didn't get uploaded. I got bad breath. I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but there was a hodgepodge. There's a lot of stuff. It's like a patchwork quilt type of thing going on inside of me, and I'm trying to make heads or tails of these crazy times. But there's a lot of points and there's topics that were just crammed into this video, and I didn't want to upload it because it was just sounded like nonsense. But I've got this one word that I wanted to draw out and maybe get more specific with. And this is dovetailing off of the arrest of Rodney Howard-Browne. We got social distancing, and non-essential gatherings have to be stopped, closed down, including churches. And I don't go to church. I get bad vibes when I go there. But since it's become kind of an act of rebellion to do church, maybe I'm going to have to return. But the arrest of Rodney Howard-Browne and his gathering against, the non-essential gatherings closure and the social distancing guidelines, I'm supportive of him, but that's beside the point. My point specifically here is I'm listening to chatter, and I've gotten out a lot of threads, and I've read pro and cons concerning people supporting Rodney Howard-Browne's decision and not supporting Rodney Howard-Browne's decision to continue gathering. And you know what? I'm just the point that came out that I'm going to jump on here is that, well, that's not really persecution. He's going against the law of the land, and it's not really persecution until they put a gun to his head and tell him to deny Christ. Well, that's persecution. And I'm trying to define what persecution is. And there's a law of first mention here. I think Genesis chapter 21 gives an instance of persecution. And then Galatians chapter 4 verse 29 actually defines what happened in Genesis 21 as persecution. And it's specifically about the relationship between Isaac, the son of Abraham, and Ishmael, the son of Abraham. The one that was born as a child of promise, that was promised to Abraham through his wife Sarah, and the child of the flesh, the typology of the child of the flesh that wasn't conceived out of a promise, which is Ishmael, who was conceived when Abraham tried to take it into his own hands and fulfill God's promises in his own effort, and he went into his concubine and she bore him Ishmael. So we've got the son of promise and the son of the law. We got a son of born in the power of the Spirit, and we've got a son born by human effort, which is the law. Any human effort is something considered under the law. So the conflict between Isaac and Ishmael is a typology of persecution. And it says that the son born under the flesh persecuted the son born according to the promise, the son after the Spirit. And so I've got to challenge some of these opinions, some of these debates where they are disqualifying Rodney Howard-Browne as being someone that is worthy of persecution, because it's not a gun pointed to his head and him being commanded to deny Jesus, which is not the case. But that's not the paradigm, and that's not how you qualify what is persecution or not persecution. Persecution is if you're operating in faith. If there's a door that opened before Rodney Howard-Browne and he was going through it, and he felt by faith that he needed to stand against oppression. And this is the deal here that I've noticed in a lot of different occasions with a lot of different people and conversations. People that don't get faith, that haven't received promises from God. that are unbelieving, and you tell them that you got a promise and you're believing for something, you're going through certain doors and you're making certain decisions, and it looks crazy to some people because you're walking by faith and they can't see the doors that God's put before you. They don't understand the promises that he's made to you. And it's specifically, I've been in office environments, I've been in factory environments, I've been in family environments where I've got a word and I know, and other people don't have a word and they don't know, and they're like, well, who does he think he is? This plays all the way into the whole socialism hook, the Marxist mentality that grips people, that when you got a promise and you're believing for something, that God talks to you, and they want to refute that and cast doubt on you. It's like, well, who does he think he is? He needs to come and be miserable with the rest of us. That's the speech of snakes. It's wicked. Psalm 101 says, the works of the unbelieving shall not cleave to me. And those that are born after the flesh, those that haven't received the promise, those that are not children of the promise, they're not going to see that. They need to get a faith their own. They need to come to a promise and work out something together with the Lord in an interpersonal level. The Lord operates interpersonally with us and bestows promises. And yes, I am suggesting that Rodney Howard-Browne had some cojones because he had a promise. He was operating in faith and he saw a door open and he took it. How that comes out in the end, it's up for speculation, it's up for debate. But I've seen this man operate in times past, and he's a starter. He starts stuff. And so if you see a culture shift, or you'll see some institutions upended because of the cojones this man had to go against the prevailing authority, if he's listening to a promise, he's transcended that prevailing authority. And so I really have to bring this down to this level where we have an interpersonal relationship with the Lord ourselves. And at the point that he has made promise to us, with the point when we've responded, and the point when that door, a door opens and we go through it and we start receiving the bounty and start receiving supernaturally, not by an outward expression, not by an outward evaluation or measure, but you can tell when somebody's walking in the Spirit and it looks crazy because there's no outward justifications, there's no resources, there's no supply. But when they go through that door and they start reaping the benefits of the faith that they've sown, it's irrefutable. And such is the case of Isaac. Isaac begot Jacob, and Jacob begot the 12 children of Israel. And the promises that God spoke to Abraham were fulfilled through that seed. And it was a promise, and he fulfilled it, and God is faithful. This is all about faithfulness. It's not me trying to be better than anybody else. It's not the child of promise not trying to be better than the child born under the law, but it's about the faithfulness of the Lord. He will vindicate his name. And so, okay, I could blather. I'm not going to take this any further and start turning my spiel here into that patchwork quilt that I did the other day. I don't want to speak with bad breath, but when you speak grace, when you start talking about being children of promise and hearkening into your own promise and having an interpersonal relationship with the Lord, you're going to start going through some doors. You're going to start having some orchestrated circumstances with specific consequences and specific outcomes that are tailor-made for you, because God has a purpose for you, and he's arranged a life for you with a hope and a future. And when you start believing that, you're going to be thrust by no means of your own. You're going to be lifted up by no effort of your own. You're not a child of the flesh. It's not your own effort. You're not going to be like Abraham going into his concubine and trying to make a child of promise in your own efforts. It's going to be effortless. He's going to lift you up. Like the Apostle John in Revelation chapter 4, when a door opened to him. And like in the book of Acts, when the Apostle Paul had a door of effectual ministry that was opened unto him because of the Macedonian call. A man from Macedonia appeared to the Apostle Paul in a vision, and that was a door of effectual opportunity, of effectual ministry. And because of it, the whole continent of Europe was overrun with the gospel. And the Apostle John, when he was on Patmos, and that door opened in heaven, in John chapter 4, verse 1, it says that a voice spoke unto me, come up here and I'll show you things that must take place after this. There is a hope and a future. There is a promise. There is something that we're being drawn out to by open doors, by promises made, and the response, it just incites faith. It stirs your belly. It lifts you up. And it said that the Apostle John was immediately in the Spirit. No going into Abraham's concubine, no works of your flesh, no human effort at all. It says, I saw a door open in heaven, a voice spoken to me, come up here, and immediately I was in the Spirit. It was second thought. There was an engagement of the soul. There was an engagement of doctrine. There wasn't a putting together and connecting dots and discernment. It was an immediate response of your spirit rising up and casting off the works of the flesh and saying, this promise is mine, and I'm going through that door, and I'm going to receive that reward. And that thing that God has promised, I know that he is faithful, and he will bring it to pass.